And welcome back to coverage here of the MPL and Rivals Gauntlets. Marshall Sutcliffe with Cedric Phillips as we wind down here in the MPL range of things. We got Jacob Wilson on Gruul Adventures facing down Rei Sato on Jeskai Mutate. As you can see, their records are significantly different. 8-2 for Jacob Wilson, playing for top 8 with that 9th win. Rei Sato really needs to keep this thing rolling here. Another round to go after this. So a win here and then a win after that might put Rei in a favorable position. But this is kind of do or die time here for Sato. What do you make of his chances, Cedric?
Well, I think the matchup is pretty close, truth be told. This is not the most ideal hand here for Sato on a mulligan with a couple copies of Lord Drakis and then just a single Prismari command. So on the draw without interaction here on turn number 1 or 2. And with this combo already lined up, Marshall, we see this sometimes in Gruul Adventures. I know players have brought this to the table a little bit. The old Magda Yaspara Sentinel combo, and then things kind of spiral out of control. And with that draw step there of Goldspan Dragon, Marshall, no interaction for the following turn, for this turn either. There'll be something on the following turn, but that means that this Magda gets to run wild a little bit.
Wow, yeah, and we've seen what happens. You know, Magda has that kind of early game, late game thing if left unchecked. You know, there's going to be a bunch of extra treasure on the battlefield here as a result, but then, and that's going to be used to turbo out a bunch of threats in this case. Even without a land drop here, it looks like we could see Asika's Chariot, 1, 2, 3, 4. But also that, you know, mid to late game punch of Magda being able to start sacrificing treasures at some point could be relevant, given that really just unchecked Magda here. I mean, looking at this extremely slow hand here for Rei Sato, I mean, if you're trying to play standard and you're not doing anything on turns 1 or 2, I do not like your chances.
Now, the one thing here for Wilson, I'm sure he's going to think about all the different things that Sato can have in a spot like this. You know, is there some sort of red removal spell that you didn't play for some reason to try to trap me? Do you have a copy of Unsubstantiate? You know, things like that. The reality is that we know that Sato has nothing going on in his hand. He's mulliganed into a pretty poor 6-card hand on the draw. Had he been on the play, different scenario, different narrative that we're painting here. But for Wilson, I'm sure he's going to kind of run through things a little bit. Looks like he's going to go to Rangers class to kick things off here. But he's in an enviable position right now.
That's right. You know, you have triple Asika's Chariot and a Ranger class. Decides to go for the Ranger class and just get to beating down here. This gets in for 4 damage and knocks Sato down to 16 life. And you've got the Ranger class at the ready. And, you know, next turn looks fairly scripted with triple Asika's Chariot. Whoa! Cinderclasm. Does that do anything here?
Not a bad draw step. Not a bad draw step.
Hello, friendo. That's a game changer for Rei Sato. We said, you know, hey, you're going to have a hard time if you're not doing anything on turns 1 and 2, but if your turn 3 top deck is a Cinderclasm that wipes the board, you are right back in business. Now, the good news here for Wilson is that he's still safe to run out the Chariot here. Did he draw the 4th Chariot?
Yeah, it looks like he has drawn all the Chariots out of lands, out of treasures, and we already know about the Prismari command that's hanging out here that can blow up a Chariot and blow up a cat token as well. So Jacob Wilson went from an incredibly enviable position, to an absolutely terrible one, Marshall.
Wow, what an incredible swing. Seriously, that was, you know, one of those rare times when it's, you know, 70% one way and now it's the other direction somehow. That being said, yeah, this is getting really, really tough here because Prismari command to take out the Chariot, or in this case, take out a cat and a Chariot, means that Jacob is kind of all in on Ranger class going forward. Down to just 2 power. Unreal.
The swing that we just saw in this game, from Sato having a horrible hand to drawing the perfect card to now Goldspan Dragon, maybe was going to be something that he played maybe defensively. Now he's getting on the offense with this card, and now we're going to get to probably start seeing some nonsense with mutations. And now the game has just changed in an enormous way, all because of that Cinderclasm.
Wow. Yeah, we got a reaction out of Rei Sato on there, and, you know, he's usually a fairly stoic player, but that was like, oh my God, that is exactly what I needed on the exact turn that he needed it to. I mean, talk about a perfect top deck there, and it looks like we're going to see a Lord Drakis. You saw Rei take a quick look at the graveyard there to see, well, what could I get back with this thing anyway? And it looks like Prismari command or that Cinderclasm that we've been talking about. It's going to be a Prismari command. And the next order of business is, Jacob hopefully finding a land here to start deploying these chariots. The one thing about chariot that's interesting, it is legendary, but it doesn't punish you that much for drawing extras. And, you end up being able to get a bunch of cat tokens out of the deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but now Sato's going to kind of go to work here, right? You get to have some real fun with Goldspan Dragon, creating treasures, of course, sacrificing for double mana, Prismari commanding up and down and all around. And yeah, this is getting ugly fast here, Marshall.
Wow, what a turn for Rei Sato. This is so cool. Doing some really cool gymnastics here with the Lord Dracus, now double Lord Dracus on this Goldspan Dragon to get these cards back. That was neat, though. The Spike Field Hazard to kind of poke the dragon there, but that ends up generating you a mana, and then as a result, you can cast the Prismari command that you got back from hand. And all that Jacob Wilson can do is, thankfully for him, draw a land, but then just cast the Seeker's Chariot and pass. Ooh, there's Vadrock too.
Yeah, and we know that a Seeker's Chariot is no threat here to Sato, given the Prismari command that he is more or less looping now over the course of this game. So convenient that the Prismari command, has multiple targets and blowing up the chariot and killing a cat, a sequence we've already seen this game. But I do admire Wilson for continuing to battle because, hey, you never know.
Yeah, may as well. A lot on the line here for Wilson, who's propelled himself to one of the top spots on our leaderboard here at 8-2. A really impressive performance by Jacob. And, he's the one who's just one away from that critical 9th win. Rei Sato on the other side, 6-4. There's still a lot of hope there for Rei, but he's got some work to do this weekend ahead of him.
Well, I'll say this, making it look pretty darn easy right now, right?
Yeah, wow. Frame that Cinderclasm on the wall, Ray. That was an all-timer. Here's Vadrock. Another quick look at the graveyard here for Rei Sato. There are, in fact, 2 targets to get back currently.
Yeah, this is one of those spots, if you're Sato, you just want to make sure that you don't mess anything up. You've got a timeout in the bank. As far as time is concerned, you're extremely far ahead. Your life total is also very high at 16. So this Jeskai Mutate deck, it is complicated in a lot of the things that it can do. Sato, very clearly an extremely capable player, but just thinking, it's not about winning the game. It's like, let's make sure that I don't find a way to lose this game somehow because I'm so far ahead. You can see all these triggers from the mutations. I mean, wow. It's pretty darn close to a runaway right now.
Yeah, it really is. This one is looks well and truly out of hand here from Jacob Wilson's perspective, as all he can do is simply look on with a pair of Asika's Chariot in hand.
It's going to take a lot more than the Cadillac this game.
That's right. And we're going to see Rei Sato continue to dig through with Prismari command, generating mana, as well as trying to find more action. But the funny part is that Rei may not need any more than just this dragon, right?
Yeah.
All this value that's been accrued is really nice, but I think just the 4 in the air could be enough, as Jacob Wilson draws a land, slams another Asika's Chariot, same play as the last turn. Probably going to be the same one next turn. And once again, the dragon comes through to knock Jacob down to 5. That's 1 more hit plus Spike Field Hazard, and that would be GG. Oh, Shatterskull Smashing's not quite enough, is it?
Yeah, it looks like we're a little short there.
Yeah. Sato in beautiful shape to pick up game number 1, a game that looked like he may have lost as early as the second turn of the game with no answer for Magda after multiple 1-drops hit the battlefield as well.
Kind of humorous, too, when you think about it, because Sato's deck is so well positioned against the card Magda with these multiple copies of Spikefield Hazard and Prismari and Cinderclasm and also their stuff. And it was like, this is going to be a runaway game for this 2-1 that he can kill in so many different ways. Turned out not to be the case.
Not so much. 1 more turn there for Jacob, and he probably would have been able to take over the board. But Boy, he didn't get that turn, and every single creature he had went bye-bye. In the meantime, Sato is happy to let Jacob just go ahead and continue to fire these Seeka's Chariots up, because with just a single red mana available, there's just nothing really here.
Nope, nothing to worry about. And even though Sato's last couple of draw steps have been quite poor, fortunately enough, Blightfield Hazard is going to allow him to barely, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but barely cross the finish line.
Look at him. Wow. Ray looked like he needed to have a little sip of water and a deep breath there, because I think he knows how lucky he got with that top deck. He had a lot of answers in the deck, to be fair to Ray, for cards like Magda, as you described, said, but that particular one, the Cinder Classman, was just like the hammer blow. Devastating swing of events there in Rei Sato's favor as he picks up game number 1 from Jacob Wilson. Jacob's going to have to win back-to-back games against Ray to lock up that top 8 seed here. He can certainly do it, though.
He definitely can. I mean, deck gets better after sideboard. You can see Red Cat Melee in, Disdainful Stroke in, Cloythus in, and some lesser cards. For you Chariot fans out there, I'm sorry to call that card lesser, but it's not the best card in this particular matchup. Yaspera Sentinel as well, and a couple of copies of Embercleave gone too. But the cards that Jacob is bringing in, they're all quite good in this matchup. So if you're Wilson, maybe a little frustrated down a game, though, Marshall, as you and I know, Jacob Wilson, not the most emotive player, never gets too high, never gets too low, just business as usual. So though that Cinderclasm was brutal, it's just back to work.
He didn't know he top decked it, right?
No, well, not yet.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Probably better that way. You see the Cub Warden come in as well.
Yow.
Really nice little sideboard card that is kind of untouchable in the matchup. It makes it, the combination of 5 toughness and then in some matchups 3 power. I don't think that's relevant for Jacob here, but for chop down, it just makes it really difficult to get rid of that card.
Yeah, that was a card when it was previewed. The rest of these Mutate cards, it's like, okay, well, this one's clearly got some favorable text. There's a lot of good things going on here, speaking of good things. But now to actually probably get the opportunity to actually see the Cub Warden do some stuff is going to be a lot of fun. But I tell you, I don't want to call Cinderclasm the card of the tournament just yet. Maybe the card of the match, because, boy, has it been good here.
I'm with you on that one, said card of the match for sure, and it's definitely on the short list of cards that have had the most impact. I mean, look, when you see people main decking multiple copies of a card like that, it should stand out, right? That is not typically a main deck style card. That is a kind of a classic sideboard card, and when people bring it in the main, it means that it's going to be amazing when it's good, and we've seen that happen. Clothis is going to start chewing up the graveyard here for Ray. You see that's happening already as Vadrock hits the battlefield for Sato. He passes the turn back over to Jacob, who's got Lovestruck Beast. Well, sort of. He can play Heart's Desire here and then a land and pass the turn back. Not a great turn, but you can see that there's a Red Cat Melee in hand here for Wilson.
Yep, does have a little bit of reactive permission here, does Wilson, in the Red Cat Melee. So that's part of the reason you're not seeing something like a hard cast Lovestruck Beast on the last turn.
Okay, land number 4 here for Sato. He has Essence Scatter, Cub Warden, and an Into the Royal available. Into the Royal, pretty critical here, right? Like one of your few ways to get that Clothis back into hand here where maybe you could nab it on the way back down.
I think it's also worth noting, too, that because we're in an open deckless tournament, right? You're working with plenty of information. Both players are. But right now, what it looks like Wilson is representing is Disdainful Stroke more so than Red Cat Melee, right? There's a red open, right? And I've got a Cub Warden. Do I actually want to do this? I do not right now. Okay, sure. So we get to play this kind of back and forth game of cat and mouse maybe a little bit here where Wilson is repping something that he doesn't have. And it's not like Sato doesn't know that he plays Red Cat Melee. He knows he's got 4. He knows he's bringing them all in. But which card do you want to play around? Can you play around one? Can you play around both? Can you play around neither? That's a big question.
That's right. So Sato's going to leave all options open past the turn back. Clothis is going to exile a card actually from Jacob's own graveyard there, but still the drain will happen. Now we're going to see Lovestruck Beast hit the battlefield, and we're going to see it kicked into the Royal here on Clothis, God of Destiny. This is a long-term thinking here from Rei, right? He needs to get that card off the battlefield. He knows that if the game goes any amount of time, that card's going to be a huge problem. Not only does it break up his combo, it also just chews up his life total over time. But it's awkward for him, right? He's spending an entire turn to kick this into the Royal, and then he's going to have to try to counter it on the way back down. But that could prevent him from casting anything, and he's going to start taking big hits here from Lovestruck Beast.
Yeah, it's a very interesting use of Into the Royal right now. But Cloythus is that powerful of a card that you kind of have to jump through some hoops to maybe get it off of the battlefield permanently. Temporary bounce permanently with the counter spell, as you mentioned. Just having to work through it.
Curious to see what Sato does here after he's drawn 2 copies of Expressive Iteration, 1 draw step, 1 off of the Into the Royal. He'd like to leave Essence Scatter up. He could go for Expressive Iteration, hit a land drop, get that hand developed a little bit further, and then lean on the Essence Scatter. But boy, oh boy, can't feel good to sit there and say, okay, I'm going to leave up Essence Scatter, hope that you recast Clothis, and then still take 6 even if you do.
Yep, no, that's a very, very good point.
But what is he supposed to do? Just run the Cub Warden out there? That doesn't feel great either.
Yeah, definitely not with the makeup of his hand right now, too. But here it comes.
Here it is. I mean, this does a thing, right? Like, he's got a 3/5 lifelink. It is threatening coming back on the other way. It's not going to block the beast, but he's unfortunately left himself open to have Clothis just hit the battlefield again.
That 6th land is actually pretty nice, too, because, you can play the 6th land. You can play 2 3-drops this turn, right? You can play Clothis again, which I think is the easy part, and then you can decide if you want to hardcast a Bone Crusher, if you want to hardcast a Lovestruck Beast. There is some positives and negatives to hardcasting Lovestruck Beast, right? Because if that 1/1, it's, I don't know, bounce by unsubstantiates, just, hypothetically, then your Lovestruck Beast isn't looking so good. So, there was some decisions to be made there by Wilson. Ultimately decided, I'm not going to cast another copy of Heart's Desire. I'm just going to play another copy of Lovestruck Beast and hope that this 1/1 doesn't exit the battlefield. Suppose he does have a layer of the Hydra, I think, hiding back there, though.
Okay. Yeah, so that'll help, too. Yeah, Jacob kind of made up his mind early there. He attacked with his Lovestruck Beast, but, if he leaves himself open to the crackback with the 3/5 lifelinker, it doesn't really get him anywhere, so he kind of has to cast the big blocker as the 5/5 now. But, yeah, if he has a layer of the Hydra, then that's a nice backup plan, and he does indeed, said. So that will help out, that even if one of these tokens were to go away, these Lovestruck Beasts still have the chance to crack in.
Because you also take a look right now at Sato's life total, Marshall, just sitting at 9, facing down 2 5/5s, and it's unlikely that Cloythus comes alive, but stranger things have happened. So
yeah, we have seen that this weekend, and also just to back up your point here. So I mean, you're at 9, you're facing down Clothis. Like, your life total is going to go away pretty quickly, regardless of these Lovestruck Beasts. And now there's another potential chance for Sato to find an answer here by using Unsubstantiate on it. But that last sequence didn't work out well for Sato. Like,
no, it did not.
Basically used Into the Royal, not in a horrible way. He got a card out of the deal, but even then it didn't feel tempo positive for him to use up 4 mana to get a card, and then Jacob just simply recast Clothis next turn.
Totally agree. Didn't solve the problem, and Clothis is a problem.
So this is going to be a huge turn here, because as it stands, Sato's going for double Expressive Iteration to try to massage the hand here and get things set up going forward. But that, of course, requires him to survive the next turn. And he's in a pretty precarious position here as it stands. Okay, that's interesting. He found Sajiri's Shelter. He's not going to get the land here. He's already played his land for the turn, but the Shelter could help.
It could come up.
I mean, he really is in a bit of a desperate situation here, needing to just do anything he can to survive. And he may need to just burn a Shelter here to keep his Cub Warden alive, lock in that 3 life.
Okay, here come the knuckle.
Turn at 5. Yeah, he also could go for unsubstantiate, but he's decided against it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think he's just either going to have to chump or Shelter to gain 3, go back down to 5, and still have a Cub Warden on the battlefield.
Oh, this is sick. Bone Crusher Stomp. Can't prevent damage.
Wow.
Text,
Bone
that text
Crusher
like doesn't
Stomp.
that text like doesn't come up much at all in standard. The damage can't be prevented clause, but
It almost never does.
That's a greater than sign. Cub Warden having protection from red, so that's pretty filthy.
Wow, that was dirty there from Jacob Wilson, and in fact is going to lock up the game here. Rei Sato got a little worked this game. He really was trying to manage too many things at once with the Clothis and then the Lovestruck Beast. You know, he was kept trying to set up, and you can see where he was going with this, right? If he was able to get the Lordrakis on to the Cub Warden, he would make blockers that would basically mean that the Lovestruck Beast didn't matter anymore, at least for a couple of turns in a row, and he could start looping some value. He had the answer for the Clothis. He could unsubstantiate, then he could counter it, and you could see the pieces of the puzzle kind of coming together, but that stomp just took all the puzzle pieces on the table and just dumped them on the ground. Like everything fell apart in one fell swoop there. And Jacob Wilson with a surgical stomp is able to pick up game number 2 and force this game 3. And this is intense. You can see Jacob is focused as always. And I don't know if you caught it, but just as the graphic was going away, Rei did the slap, you know, the kind of slap your cheeks like, hey, wake up, you know, stay focused type thing. And you can tell that both players are feeling the pressure for sure.
They are. I mean, again, so much on the line here this weekend for both players. And though those records are different, 8-2 versus 6-4, they both could be making our top 8 over the course of this weekend. So this match is incredibly important for both. I know that Wilson doesn't feel like this matchup is particularly good for him, especially after sideboard. He thinks the matchup is pretty close to just being bad. But look, part of the journey in any Magic tournament is sometimes getting by your bad matchups. And for right now, on the draw on a mulligan, you're not in the best of positions right now, especially with this opening hand. It's one that you probably have to keep as opposed to going down to 5. And now the question becomes, what card do you put back on the bottom of your deck with the mulligan? So Jacob is in a difficult position. And this doesn't even take into account, Marshall, that he doesn't even know it's in Sato's hand. And we can see Rei Sato's hand, and it's pretty good.
It is pretty darn good. He has answers for the first couple of small threats here, although it looks like he's going to play his only red source here. Is that right? Yeah, it looks like Spikefield Hazard is going to be played as a land, but he does have the Cinderclasm at the ready. He can use that at his leisure. Looks like he'll just take a hit here from the token from Heart's Desire to kick things off. Then we're going to see Ranger class. So this is now going to be a pretty tempting Cinderclasm here.
Well, we are going to need, I think, one. Okay, so we do have the other red mana there and Lava Blight. Excuse me. So Cinderclasm just hanging out at the ready, as it were.
Wow, and this is kind of it for Jacob. He's got a Lovestruck Beast to cast this turn. He also has the option on the Ranger class level up if he'd like, but beyond that, he's just got a pair of red cap melees and lands in hand, so he's got a very reactive hand, not a lot of action at the moment. Now, I will note that the 2 red cap melees sitting across from the 2 gold spans, we can see it looks kind of poetic. Could play out nicely there. But, you know, Jacob really trying to get as much action going as he can. Here comes Lovestruck Beast. And I assume we'll just see the Cinderclasm here.
Yeah, curious on what we're going to see Sato do here. We could see Cinderclasm take care of the little fellas, or we could see Prismari Command. You know, there's 4 modes here. Destroy target artifact that is not going to be used, but it looks like deal 2 and make a treasure into Goldspan Dragon ahead of schedule is where we're headed now.
Oh, and also interesting that he's going to take out the 2/2, not the 1/1. So that means that feels good that he has another answer for it. Ooh, Fire Prophecy could be interesting as well. Here comes Goldspan Dragon, though, off of the treasure from Prismari Command, and boom, it's going to get in the red zone, create that treasure token, and he's got Fire Prophecy at the ready here, or even the Cinderclasm. You know, it's got to be tempting to try to set up for Cinderclasm and then Fire Prophecy to finish off the Lovestruck Beast, but we'll see how this goes. Another Ranger class pops into hand here for Jacob, as we see his hand of double red cap melee, 2 lands and a Ranger class. Again, he's already got 1 Ranger class on the battlefield as well.
Well, here is Cinderclasm. This is going to be pre-combat. Use the treasure. And this is going to this is going to kill the 1/1 from Heart's Desire, which is going to stop the Lovestruck Beast from attacking. That's the big game plan here.
That's right. There is also a lair, but that would require Jacob to spend some pretty precious mana to get in for this damage if he wants to do that. So just good old-fashioned Cinderclasm for 1 here. Down goes the token. And now Jacob has a decision. How important is it for him to get this damage in now? Also, does he have another green mana source?
Well, we do have another green in hand.
But are we in combat? It looks like we might be, said.
Yeah.
Now, he can just use the green mana from the lair itself, but that would preclude him from being able to cast the Ranger class in his hand. So again, decisions are being made, but he's decided I must get in for the 5 here while I can. This is going to be a key part of the equation. Now, the good news for him is, well, he still has a red cap melees available, and then he has that forest in hand as well for next turn. So here comes red cap melee. This is about the cleanest answer you're going to get.
Fire Prophecy is pretty nice here.
Ouch. Fire Prophecy to kill the lair. And this is with the dragon still on the battlefield.
Uh-huh.
And he doesn't even want the expressive iteration. Wow, okay.
That's telling.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
he wants to be able to get this dragon down for sure. And he actually did find the land he needed to cast it. And he even found another Goldspan off the top of the library. And there's the other red cap melee, though, to take down the dragon. Now, there's a huge question here. Can Jacob Wilson come up with a 1/1?
Yeah, this is a huge draw for Wilson. Den of the Bugbear.
Not quite. So he's going to have to settle for Ranger class. And that's it? Yep, pass the turn back over. And here we go. There's Lord Drakis off the top. And look at Rei Sato.
An unbelievable draw step there for Sato, because only had Goldspan Dragon, and I don't want to undersell the power of the gigantic 4/4 flyer, but Lord Drakis in combination. Now things start to spiral a little bit. Now things are going to get a little bit out of control here in favor of Rei Sato. He really, really needed just a little bit of a pick-me-up to go along with that Goldspan Dragon, and he found exactly what he was looking for with the Lord Drakis.
It's got a sting sitting in Jacob Wilson's seat. You know he top-decked one of these 2 cards, and these are just the perfects here, especially, such that Ray can get back Fire Prophecy here, and even if there is a 1/1, and there is a 1/1 off the top here for Wilson, he has an answer for it to keep that Lovestruck Beast at bay. Wow.
Yeah, that's brutal. That's
huge.
Brutal.
It's just coming together so perfectly here for Rei Sato. He's playing well. He's getting exactly what he needs back, but it's like each time he's had the thing that he's needed, and he may be on track here to ride this Goldspan Dragon to victory if Jacob can't come up with a way to get rid of it. Good God, a Cinderclasm as well. So now even if the Den of the Bugbear gets in there, it's going to get real ugly here for Jacob.
Yeah, these are timely draw steps here.
Look at Rei Sato. Look at him.
Yeah. You want to fire that creature land up? What do you say?
This is the point where you pray to the magic gods. He's using up his 1 time, and this is exactly what he wanted to see. Den of the Bugbear gets fired up. That's going to get in the red zone. There's going to be an additional 1/1, but it's all going away here as Cinderclasm is going to wipe the board, leave a very lonely Lovestruck Beast back. Reyes says, please just hang on. And look at that. A Sajiri Shelter means that even a top-deck removal from Jacob Wilson won't be good enough, as that effectively locks things up here for Rei Sato to pick up the win and improve to 7-4.
My goodness, that set of draw steps. You got to be kidding me. So let's see. We're going upstairs with that. Now we'll play a Bone Crusher.
And now Sato knows for sure that he's got it. Only 4 life on the other side. All he has to do is send it into the red zone, and Sato's going to dispatch of Jacob Wilson. Now, Jacob's still alive here. He's 8-3, but Rei Sato keeps his top 8 hopes alive with a win. He improves to 7-4 with an impressive victory. What an emotional roller coaster there for Rei Sato.